Hey everybody, this is Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and you are watching the very first episode of What's in My Press, where I go over 10 books that I'm specking on, 10 books that are in my shop right now that I am working on, I'm cleaning and pressing, and I'm hoping to get some really high grades when I end up submitting this to CGC. But before we get started, if you guys like this kind of content, I hope you give today's episode a thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. I love being able to have conversations with you guys. I love this channel. It's growing every day. We're getting more and more people every day, and I appreciate everybody who subscribed so far. And if you haven't already subscribed, please, I encourage you to do so and share with your friends. Okay guys, let's go ahead and get started. Now, if you follow my channel at all, you know that I get a lot of books graded by CGC. I've got plenty of episodes that you can check out on YouTube where I do CGC unboxings all the time. And in those videos, you see the results. You see the great grades I get most of the time. And I talk a lot about adding value to the books. Books that I get from my PC, books I pick up at trade shows, or comic shows, or at stores, and I try to clean and press them. I work on them, and then I send them to CGC in hopes of getting that really high grade and really adding a lot of value to the book, whether it's for the PC or whether it's for resale. Either way, I'm adding value to it, because someday these books will be, whatever's left over when I pass away, these books will go to my daughter. So I want to add value to these books. And that's what I'm talking about here. What I'm working on right now is I've got books in the shop here. These are books that I'm cleaning and pressing, and they will eventually end up going to CGC. Today's episode, I'm going to be talking about 10 specific books that I'm working on right now. These are books I'm specking on, and I'm thinking that I'm going to get some really good grades out of all of these. These are all great candidates. Now, some of them may not be as high as you might think. There, I got some Silver Age books in there, but they are really top-notch books. And I'm going to get them into press. I'm going to work on them. I think I can get them all up to a really good level. I'm going to hopefully add a lot of value to the books. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to go over each book, and I'm going to give you the fair market value for the grade, where I think it'll end up. Now, I'm probably going to give you several grades, a range of grades, because it could go on the low end or it could go on the high end. So I may give a range, and when I went over these, I've got some of these that I did where I've got about a four grade difference, and others I've got about a two, maybe a 3 grade difference. So I'll give you all those values so you can look at it, and then we'll come back and then we'll talk about how much I invested in these books versus how much I could see as a return if I sold them. Now, some of these are going to stay in the PC, some of them are going to be for resale, but we're not going to worry about that part of it for right now. We're just going to worry about what is the current return on investment in these books. So let's go ahead and get into the books, and we'll start with the very first one in just a second. All right, guys, I've got the books. Let's get started. So the very first book I've got on my list, and I'm going to apologize, I've got my notes right here so I can give you exact numbers and everything, and I'll display it on the screen somewhere here. I'm not sure where it'll end up, but let's just start with the very first book, and that is Avengers number 59. Now, this is the first appearance of Yellow Jacket, and I ended up getting this from Heritage Auctions, and they had this rated about a very fine when I picked it up as a raw comic. So I'm kind of excited about getting this one in there, and for the range where I think I can get this book, I think the low end might be an 8.0. That's real low end. I think it's going to be higher. I think it's going to be at least an 8.5. I think I can bump this up to at least a 9 with an outside shot of a 9.2. So these are the grades, the range of grades I'm going to give you here. So an 8.0, and again, I'm sorry I'm reading off my notes, but you'll see it on the screen as well. Right now, this is the Go Collect fair market value. Now, I know that there's other ways to get your fair market value. You may end up getting go through some of the other sources. one of the ways I really like to do things, because I sell primarily on eBay, is let's go to what, if I wanted to buy this book right now in this grade, once I get it graded, if I wanted to buy this book at a, let's say a 9.0, what could I buy it for? Or a 9.4, what could I buy it for straight up today? I don't go off the auction prices, and I go by the lowest buy it now right now. And that's maybe not the best way to do it, but that's also one of the ways that you can determine what the most current fair market value is. And that's, so the prices I'm going to give you here, like I said, I went off of Go Collect, and I know that there is it's an average over a certain amount of time. I'm not sure exactly how long they average those prices, but for the sake of this argument here, it's going to be ballpark enough for our demonstration today. So let's go with this. So for an 8.0, I've got it at about $240. 8.5, $300, 9.0, $375, and again, an outside shot at a 9.2. I can get this maybe right now $525 fair market value for something like this. Now, this is a great book. John Buscema artwork. I just absolutely love this right here. It's a great twist that actually gets revealed in the next issue, but it's a pretty good cliffhanger at the end of this as well. So there's the first book. Here, I'll just leave it there, and I'll put the next one in. Number 2 is Astonishing Tales number 25. Now, this is, of course, the first appearance of Deathlock, but it is also the first published artwork in comics by George Perez. I think it's a 2-page story. I'm not really sure. It's been so long since I've actually opened this up to read. So this right here I picked up at the National Sports Collectors Convention early this year, and it was in pretty good shape. I think I can do a pretty good job with this. It's a little rougher than I like, but it looks, it's really sharp. It doesn't have any good. It's not pulled away from the staples at all. There's very few spine ticks. In fact, yeah, I mean, it's got, the cover is wrapped around. You see the white coming down the edge here. It's a little hard to see there. Of course, I've got it in the bag and board, but you don't really see any spine ticks because it's white going down the side there. So that's going to actually go in my favor a little bit. It's got this white background on the back that I'm going to have to be real careful with and clean it and everything. But let's go ahead and give you what the range I'm thinking about on this. 7.5, it's about a 210 book, $210, 8.0, 240, 8.5, 350, 9.0, and I think it's an outside shot, about 475. And yeah, that's gonna be pretty good. And we'll go over at the end. I'll total up everything, that how much I spent on all these together, because I don't have individual prices here, but I added it all up earlier. And actually, I can tell you, I think what did I do? I think I spent, it's about 190, 180, it was something like, I don't have the exact number because I bundled a bunch of books together, so I didn't have the exact price. All right, number 3 on the list that's currently being worked on. Well, I guess it's not currently being worked on, it's sitting right here, but it is in the shop to be worked on, is All-Star Comics number 58, and this right here is the first appearance of Power Girl. And never realized who did the art on this, but Mike Grell did the artwork on that. It's a fantastic cover. So this I got down at Heroes Aren't Hard to Find in Charlotte, North Carolina, at their store. And I want to say I paid about $113 on this here. And right now, I think it's in a better shape than an 8.5, but that's about the low, I would think, on this. It does have a couple of spine ticks over here, so I may be getting knocked. And I think it's even in the red. Right on the edge of the red, and it's in the blue banner there as well. Just the little ones, but it's a really sharp book. Right now, I've got this ranging from an 8.5 to a 9.4. Real outside shot at a 9.4. So I don't think that it's going to come close to that. I think this is going to come in at that 8.5, 9.0 range. 8.5 is $160, which means by the time I grade this, I probably will end up breaking even. But again, we'll go over all that at the end. 9.0, 170. If I can pull that, and again, I think these prices are actually a little low. Judging on what I've seen at shows recently, just raws of this, I've seen it really have an uptick. And I've saw some really nice books that are really super expensive raw. So I'm thinking that the fair market value is pulling from prices that are a little bit older than what the current rate really is. But again, this is go collect. 9.0 is 200, 9.4 is about 325. Okay, let's set these down. All right, next up is a very recent book. I just got this at the Baltimore Comic-Con, and it's funny, I got this from Heroes Aren't Hard to Find. They were there set up at the Baltimore Comic-Con. And this is issue number 33 of Captain Marvel. This is the end of the storyline, that first storyline with Captain Marvel taking on Thanos. Jim Starlin artworks, Jim Starlin's story. I'm not sure who else worked on that. I don't think he did all of the writing or creative completely. I know he did the artwork. But this was a super sharp copy. It's better than the copy that I've already got in at CGC right now being graded. And paid a little bit of money for this. I want to say they had a $125 price tag on this. I didn't pay quite that because we bundled some books and I got the price down a little bit. But for the argument's sake, we'll say this is a $125 book. I've got this right now ranging down as far down as an 8.5. I don't think it'll get there. I think it'll be better than that. And again, I don't think these prices, you can tell these prices are a little different. Actually, I've got 9.0 to 9.4 on this. I'm sorry, I didn't have the 8.5. 9.0, it's about $95. 9.2, 130. 9.4, 180. This right here is more of a want than a spec book. This, I'm working on getting the issues 26 through 33 graded for the PC. They don't have to be, I'm not worrying about the grades that much. I'm just trying to get the highest grades I can get at reasonable prices. So I've been working on buying some of these raw and then trying to get them graded. Again, I think the prices that Go Collect is doing is a little bit low, to be honest with you. But this is a really sharp copy. I mean, this is one that could surprise me when it comes back. Of course, I love surprises if it's on the good end. I mean, go back and watch the video where I pulled the another book I got at the National, X-Men 95, and I was able to get a 9.8 on something like that. And I paid, I think, 190, 180. It was the same as the Astonishing Tales book. It was the same price. They had a $200 price tag on there. I probably ended up paying about 180, 185, something like that. All right, here is another book, one of my all-time favorites. This is Tales of the Teen Titans number 44. This is part 3 of the Judas Contract. But the significance, it was funny, I never cared about what the main significance of this is, which is the first appearance of Nightwing. You've got Dick Grayson giving up the mantle of Robin, and eventually in this issue he becomes Nightwing. And I never really cared. But I thoroughly enjoyed the origin of Deathstroke. Now, this right here, to me, that was always the main thing. And it doesn't seem like until recently that people really cared, the last couple of years, that, oh, it's the first appearance of Nightwing. But I always loved this issue. George Perez artwork. I've got this, I think I've got a 9.6 in my PC. I've got a 9.4 in there as well. And I've actually got this signed. I've got a copy. It's not going to grade out too well if I ever get CBCS to do it, but I've got Marv Wolfman and George Perez to have signed this issue too. This one, I want to say, where did I pick this up? Okay, I picked this up down at Heroes Con earlier this year. I paid about $80 for it, and it is really sharp. It does have the most minor of color breaking spine ticks. I mean, I don't even know if that's a tick. It's more like just a mark over there. It is a really sharp copy. I don't think it'll come back as a 9.8 outside shot, but I figured this is more, the way they've been grading, I wouldn't expect this to be more then a 9.6, but I think it's going to be a 9.4 and 9.6. I think we're going to fall in that. $140 for a 9.4, $160 for a 9.6, outside shot at a 9.8, $375. 9.8, it stays in the PC. 9.6, I'll end up, or lower, I'll end up selling it. And because, as I said, I've already got this in the PC. All right, next up, where did I get this? Oh, this is a Whatnot pickup. And this is Wolverine #2, part of the Frank Miller, Chris Claremont original limited series. This is issue #2. I have been working on trying to get a 9.8 series from a PC of all 4 of these issues. Right now, I own a complete 9.6 collection of all of them. I've got at least, I think issue 4 is a 9.8 that I didn't pay that much for. But especially issue 1, I'm going to try to find Raws in this and try to get them graded to get up to get up there, because even the 9.8s, even on this one, 2 and 3 can jump up a little bit more than I want to pay. So I'd rather pay for this and then get it graded. And it's just a matter, it's been fun to go to conventions and try to find good copies of this. This paper, this dark cover seemed to be really susceptible to a lot of spine ticks. Not a lot of value at the lower grades here. 9.4 will grade out as a $90. 9.6 about $120. You can see why I didn't mind picking up a 9.6. I wouldn't have paid that much for it. It's actually probably less now than what I paid for it earlier last year. 9.8's about $280. And this is a really sharp copy. I mean, again, it's another copy where the back cover comes around and it's white, so it leaves a little bit of a white edge down the whole side, so you don't have any color breaking spine ticks. All the color is shifted over just a little bit, which is great. It gives you a chance to work on that white spine without worrying about color breaking spine ticks. So this has a really good shot at a 9.8, I hope. There wasn't any problems on the back as far as I could tell. Very sharp copy. So keep your fingers crossed. We'll see if I can come through on that. Okay, guys, so the next one up is a book I just got off of Whatnot. I literally picked this up just a couple weeks ago from Davis Ryder on Whatnot on one of his shows. This is Jungle Action #5. This right here is the very first solo title for the Black Panther. Now, this story isn't original. It is a reprint. It's a reprint of Avengers. I believe it's 62. Maybe 61, but I think it's 62. And, of course, you've got M'Baka, the man-ape here. Of course, they can't call him that because of how politically correct things are these days in the Black Panther movie and everything. So, but this is the reprinting of that story. You've got a brand new cover here. I think I mentioned this at the time when I picked it up. Just a wonderful John Romita Sr. cover here. Just what fantastic artwork. This issue was the first issue, and of course I said it's a solo series for the Black Panther. The next issue we have Killmonger, and we have the original stories taking place. I think that was Rich Buckler who's doing the artwork. So, but this is a pretty significant book right here, and I didn't pay a lot for this from Davis Ryder. I want to say about $24, and it's not in the best shape, but basically it's more dirty than anything, and it's going to take a little bit of cleaning. Just take a little time, clean it up, give it a nice press. Again, we've got a white, the back cover is coming around the front just a little bit here, forms a perfectly white spine right there, so it definitely helps with the spine ticks. There's no color breaking spine ticks in a case like this, so that really helps. And so let's go over the values on this right here. Again, these are ranges of grades where I think it's going to fall in by the time I'm finished. As always, I hope I've undergraded, but as a 7.5, this is a $180 book right there. 8.0 to 10. And actually, the way the fair market value has been going on this recently, 8.5 and a 9.0 are all about $210. So, again, if you went to eBay, you'd find some difference between those prices, I'm sure. So that's a beautiful book. It's a book I grew up with. I still have that. Most of these books I had from the early 70s, I read the covers off of those things. I mean, these books are destroyed. I didn't understand. I was just enjoying the books. I wasn't thinking about collecting at that point. All right, next up is one of my all-time favorite X-Men books. This is X-Men 135. This is the first cover appearance of Dark Phoenix. I know that some of the sites will say that this is the second appearance of Jean Grey as Dark Phoenix. I really consider this the first full appearance, because she only appears in one panel in the previous issue. So it's a splash page. It takes up practically the whole page, but it's still one panel. I mean, if Wolverine basically did the same thing, and nobody considers 180 of Hulk as his first appearance. It's his first cameo appearance. Well, I consider this the first full appearance of Dark Phoenix. And I don't know. I don't know. I would expect this book to be more valuable, to be honest with you. But as let's go down the grades here. Now, this is a book I picked this up from. Where did I pick this up? I picked this up at a little show here a few weeks ago down in Annandale, Virginia, and I think I paid about $100 for this. And it seems like kind of the average of a lot of these John Byrne X-Men, 100, 125, maybe lower, depending on some of the issues, depending on some of the grades. I picked up some deals at Baltimore Comic-Con for a lot less. Issues 114 and 115. I'm sorry, 113 and 114 for less, but they did have some issues that I had to work on. And this right here is a really nice copy. So I didn't mind spending the money on it, figuring I'm hoping to get at least a 9.6 on this, because as you guys might know, I'm working on a John Byrne run of X-Men, all at that 9.6 level. And you guess, why not a 9.8? Well, 9.8 is really expensive to buy straight up. Now, if I press some of these and get a 9.8, that's different. But I have at least on one of them so far. I think issues 112, I ended up getting a 9.8, and it's like that literally turned that book into $1,000 comic. I mean, that's crazy. I can't even keep that book. I have to sell that to then go out there and try to find a 9.6. It's really silly. But anyway, I'm looking for a 9.6 on this. Let me give you some prices. Just on the outside shot that just got a 9.8, it's $450. 9.6, $180. If it drops down to a 9.4, which I don't think it will, it's about $150. And yeah, so yeah, that's a really nice book right there. This is definitely one for the PC, even as the 9.4. It'll stay in the PC because I don't have this one graded yet. So I do have a couple more in the shop that are following this. So I don't think either one of them are as nice as this one, though. All right, now this is one that you just saw in the Baltimore Comic-Con haul just a few days ago. This right here is Batman 407. I picked this up at Baltimore Comic-Con from another book from Heroes Aren't Hard to Find. This is issue 407 of Batman. This is the last issue of the Frank Miller series. I was going to go Born Again. I'm sorry, I'm thinking Daredevil, but of year one. And another series that I'm working on, a 9.8 series. Now, I've got 9.8s on the first 3 issues. I cannot pull a 9.8 on this last one, so I'm trying to find copies. That was one of my missions at Baltimore Comic-Con, was trying to find this particular issue. And you'd think it wouldn't be that hard. Well, I could find a bunch of them, but none that didn't have spine ticks. This one is a super clean copy. I think it was only $15. So I'm excited about getting this one in. And this one I've actually already worked on. It is a tight copy. It is super clean. maybe a little bit of dirt that I may still have to go back and clean up. I will give, every time I do a book, I work on the book and I make notes. And you can see I've got a little post-it note I keep on the back, and it tells me the issue, where I got it from, when I got it, how much I paid, and I get a little bit of notes about my cleaning and pressing. And sometimes what I'll do is, once I pull it out and I realize I need to do a little bit more cleaning to it, I'll make a little note that front cover needs this, back cover needs that. And this is a case where I think the front cover needs just a little bit of more attention. And I also don't like to rush these out anymore. I've learned my lesson. I will, especially older books, I will clean and press. And I usually work on this quick press method where I put the book in for a certain amount of time at a certain temperature. I leave it in there for about 2 hours. I pull it out, put brand new bag and board, and then I cold press. And that cold press can go anywhere from 6 hours to 24 hours, for example. And I've got a bunch of different stations I use cold presses all the time. And I think that has been really good to make these books nice and flat. They can stay in the press and have that press and everything, but I find that pulling them out and putting them under, I use a small granite slab, actually, or 2 of them. Put it on there in a bag and board, put the comic in there, put a board over the comic book side so it's not touching the granite. Well, it wouldn't touch, it's still in the bag and the board, but it gives it an extra layer of protection. And then I put the other granite slab on top and let it press down. And I've been real happy with that method. But this is one, I'm hoping this one's going to pull me my 9.8 and I can finish up this year 1 collection, really. All right, and then the last one I kind of just alluded to a few minutes ago. It is Daredevil 27. This is the first issue of the Frank Miller, Dave Mazzarelli run. This is the Born Again Daredevil. This is what they're going to base the new DCU, oh my God, what am I thinking? Disney Plus MCU series for Daredevil on, probably pretty loosely, considering the amount of drug use that Karen Page is going through on this. So we'll see how much they actually pull from this book. And this is actually from the PC. This is my original comic here. So most of the other books I picked up at shows throughout the last year, even though I've had many of these copies, these were all somewhat newer copies. I've got every one of these in the PC from years ago. But looking for really good candidates for pulling a 9.8. Well, this one was in the PC. And this one right here, let's just give you the values on this. And I'm only getting, it's a really good copy. I'm only going to give you the top two. 9.8 is about $260 value. 9.6 is about $160. So, yeah. So that's pretty much it. These are the 10 books right now that are in the shop. Now, there will be other ones, and I'll do other videos where I go over other books. And what I want you guys to take away from this isn't that you can look at these books and you can see the values, and you can make up your own decisions if you want to go out and look for these books. I do tons of books, and I use the same method all the time. I look at the value. What is the book currently fair market value at different grades? And if I think, once I take a look at the book, if I think I can pull this and I can get a 9.8 on this, and it's like, okay, it's worth my time to get it into the press. Let's work on it. Let's see if we can get it up. Now, I can tell you right now, I've got books in there right now. I just literally put a couple books in there and went ahead and they're actually in the press right now, cooling down. I'm probably not going to end up doing anything with them. It gave me a chance to really look at some of the conditions, and I'm going to have to pull back on some of them, even though, I bought them and I thought, oh, this is a great candidate. Well, I'm not going to waste the money if I don't think I'm going to get the grade on some of them. So anyway, last part of this, let's go over the values. So right now, what I've got invested in all of these books, once I added everything up, was about $850. And little higher than I expected. You buy a book here, you buy a book there, and well, it adds up. I mean, come on, there's several $100 books in here, and the way I figure it is $850 with my membership for CGC plus shipping. I'm averaging, and this is real loose and real quick, guys, about $300 for grading. If I was doing all 10 of these, grading plus the shipping, I'm just averaging it out $300. So let's say I've got an investment of $1150 in this right here. Well, we went over grades. You listened to me throughout this whole show going over what the highs were at different grades. Well, I did a total, and I'm totaling up right here. If I could pull the minimum grade on every one of these that I talked about, it would come out to about $1,580. And that's basically a $430 profit on something like that. Now, I'm not taking into account taxes, and there are other fees and things in there that can get involved. Again, this is real loose, so we're just going to go straight up, is it worth my time? Yeah, we have to worry about taxes, and there's other shipping, and you send out something, somebody's going to pay you for shipping. But it's a ballpark. But on the high, guys, if I could pull a high in the range that I put every one of these books at, if I pull the high on this, we're talking about $3,050. And that is about a $1,900 profit on something like that, minus taxes. So there you go. This is what I'm talking about. This is my method. This is how I do things, and I end up spending a lot of money. And I've got a lot of books that are in the queue waiting to be cleaned and pressed. I probably should slow down my purchasing. That's probably my biggest fallacy right now. It's not the CGC cost as much as it's the cost of acquisition on a lot of these books. I probably should focus more on the PC. I mean, I've got 100,000 comic collection sitting there. There's 100,000 comics. I could go in there and I can pull these books, and I do it all the time. A lot of my early orders to CGC were all completely from my PC. I wasn't picking them up from shows and doing that. So the return on investment on that was fantastic. They were all actually less than cover price because I had ordered all of these through my provider. So I'm paying less than cover price on most of them, usually 35 to 50% off of the cover price. So that was a really good return on investment. But over the last year and a half, I've gotten into going to shows and picking up investment books. Now, none of these are the mega keys or anything, but I'm to generate income and to add to my collection. I will get a book like this, and I don't have a problem getting us graded. Hopefully get that 9.8, obviously. Sell this, and then I can turn around, pay for the grading on this, and then keep it in my PC. And it's kind of all I'm trying to do these days is build up the PC to a certain degree, sell a bunch to help pay for the hobby. So anyway, guys, that is it. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was useful. I'm going to continue doing this periodically. I didn't realize how much work this took today to put this together. And got a lot of editing that went into this, and a lot of work, but I hope you got something out of it. Please give me some feedback. What do you think? What do you think of this format? Is this helpful to you? Do you like the books that I'm investing in? And here, I'm going to give a disclaimer. I'm not telling you to go out there and buy any of these books. You buy these, it's up to you. You do your thing. I'll do my thing. Hopefully, I can give a little bit of insight and help you along the way. So, guys, that is it. I'm out of here. I'm exhausted. I will see you for the next video. Take care.